The courtroom laughed when Judge Holloway read my occupation aloud. Miss Nora Bennett owns a laundromat and believes she can manage an estate worth $30 million. The chuckles spread from the gallery to the attorneys' tables. My father, Grant Bennett, smiled as though the judge had confirmed something he had known since my birth. "She cannot even handle a lawyer," he added. I kept my hands folded in my lap. Nobody in that room knew I had spent 15 years directing military logistics across 3 combat zones. Nobody knew I had supervised supply networks worth billions. Most importantly, nobody knew what my father had hidden inside my uncle's estate records. Growing up in Dallas, I learned early that my younger brother Lucas was the future, and I was the dependable daughter who needed no attention. Dad praised Lucas for average grades, rescued every failed business, and introduced him as the Bennett legacy. When I won scholarships, he nodded. When I joined the Army against his wishes, he stopped speaking to me for months. The service gave me what home never had, standards that applied equally. I learned to move fuel, medicine, equipment, and people through impossible conditions. Mistakes were not embarrassing, they were deadly. I rose through the ranks, earned commendations, and eventually became a colonel. Dad never attended a ceremony. At a dinner party, he once told guests I moved boxes for the Army. They laughed, and I smiled because explaining myself to someone committed to misunderstanding me felt useless. After retirement, I bought Sunrise Laundry, a clean neighborhood business with reliable income. Dad looked around the first time he visited and said, "All those years and now you wash strangers' clothes." Then Uncle Harold died. He had no children and had always treated Lucas and me fairly. Yet the final estate documents sent almost everything to Lucas. My portion was insulting, but the imbalance was not what disturbed me. Harold had discussed his plans with me. The numbers did not match the man I knew. I hired probate attorney Maya Torres. She compared older drafts and found that Harold had repeatedly divided his assets almost equally. During his final 18 months, however, properties, investments, and trust interests had been shifted toward Lucas through documents prepared under my father's supervision. We challenged the estate. Dad responded by demanding full disclosure of my finances and professional history. He wanted to prove I lacked the experience to control serious assets. The judge approved his request. 6 weeks later, Dad's own attorney opened my military file in court. His confident voice weakened as he read about multinational procurement systems, emergency supply operations, and annual budgets exceeding $12 billion. The laughter disappeared. Then retired General Samuel Price testified that if he needed someone to protect $10 billion in critical assets, I would be among his first calls. The judge stared at me. "Colonel Bennett?" "Yes, Your Honor." Across the aisle, my father went pale. He had never known my rank, but competence was only half our case. Maya obtained internal correspondence from the estate planners. On the next hearing date, she projected my father's emails onto the courtroom screen. "I do not want family assets controlled by Nora. Lucas is the natural successor." Then came the line that ended his defense. "I will not allow millions to fall into the hands of a woman who does not understand business." My mother covered her mouth. Lucas lowered his head. The judge asked Dad whether he had written those words. "Yes," he whispered. An estate specialist testified that the restructuring created no meaningful tax or strategic benefit. Its sole practical result was reducing my share and enlarging Lucas's. Maya faced my father. "Do you know your daughter's rank?" "No." "Her commendations?" "No." "How many people served under her command?" He looked at the table. "No." Finally, Maya asked, "Mr. Bennett, do you know your daughter?" His hands began trembling. He flipped through my evaluations, reading the life he had ignored. Tears filled his eyes. He looked at me, truly looked at me, and whispered, "My God." Then he clutched his chest and collapsed. He survived a stress-induced cardiac episode. 3 weeks later, the court voided the manipulated transfers and restored Harold's original equal distribution. Lucas visited my laundromat afterward. He admitted Dad's favoritism had made him entitled and afraid to fail. "I should have been your brother," he said. You still can be, I answered. Months later, Dad asked to see me at rehabilitation. Smaller and stripped of courtroom certainty, he apologized for every promotion missed, every achievement dismissed, every year wasted. I did not forgive him instantly, but I listened. With my inheritance, I created a foundation helping veterans enter civilian careers. I kept Sunrise Laundry. The place reminded me that honest work needs no impressive title. People had laughed because they saw washing machines instead of strength. In the end, the smallest business in the courtroom belonged to the only person there who had already managed billions, and never needed to belittle anyone to prove her worth with patience and precision.